Okay. So this is what we were doing. So just to recall what it was about, this was about driverless cars, right? Which are basically cars that can drive themselves that don't need a human driver to work. And we first read the article, which was about the advantages of driverless cars, right? And we said that it was an argumentative text because the writer had an opinion about the topic. The writer was in favor of using these cars, and the writer can you hear me better?
Yes, can you listen to me?
I can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me well.
I do, but I think you have some internet connection problems that is kind of lagging the voice with echo.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can see you well now.
Okay, I'm really sorry.
No worry.
Okay, so we were saying we were working on the integrated writing, and we read the article first, we listened to the lecture, and we were already writing the essay. So here's what we had for the essay so far. We had the structure of the essay, we had the introduction, in which we first had the first sentence, which was basically about the topic. So we said, both the article and lecture discuss driverless cars, vehicles that are not driven by humans. So basically, we just talk about the topic, driverless cars, and explain a little bit more what those are. And we extracted this from the reading. Then we had the reading's main idea, which in this case was that these cars will have a positive impact. And then we had the professor's main idea. That's what we had for the introduction. And then in the body paragraphs, we basically said, the only thing you need to remember is that you should have the reading and two or more for the lecture. So we had one sentence summarizing the most important point made as the first reason from the reading. We said the article started stating that you don't have to worry about accidents when it comes to autonomous cars because they use advanced technology that is not prone to error, right? Basically, they're safe. And then we contrasted it with what the professor said. So we said, nevertheless, in the presentation, it's noted that driverless cars, as they're designed by humans, are actually prone to error. Thus, there's no guarantee that they will not cause accidents. And we mentioned the example too. So is that okay so far? Do you have any questions as to what we did yesterday?
No, no question.
Okay. So honestly, that is it. That is the structure of the essay. Because the later paragraphs, that means body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3, are exactly the same as the one we did already as the first body paragraph. We will have one sentence from the reading, and then we have to explain contrasting to what the professor said on the lecture. We do the same in the third body part. We say furthermore, the author also points out that, for example, that autonomous cars as they are sent for efficiently, I don't know, these will actually cause more people to begin driving as there will be no restrictions, and this will in turn increase pollution levels. So that's it. That is the structure of this essay. You don't need a conclusion, and honestly, I don't suggest that you do one. If you were to have extra time, don't use that time for writing a conclusion. Use that time for checking your essay, checking what you wrote, and reviewing grammar, reviewing format, reviewing content, reviewing vocabulary. Use the extra time that you have to check and improve your essay instead of writing a conclusion. Okay. So what do you guys think? Do you have any questions about the structure of this essay?
So basically, it's to paraphrase the reading and also paraphrasing the lecture,
Exactly.
giving the opposite of the reading.
Yes, pretty much.
So always it will be the opposite, or there is a case where they agree.
I mean, they will never agree, but there are other types. When you have argumentative text, that means when the writer has an opinion, the professor will never agree. So it's always contrast. But there are other types as well. Any other question? Okay, great. So we're gonna do another example to show you another type of reading and lecture that you guys can have. So let's open up Word document. Okay, so the types of content that you can have. The first one, the most common one, we already saw it, right? You have argumentative text, the writer has an opinion, and the professor has the opposite opinion. That's not the only type of reading and lecture you can have. We said the first one, when you have argumentative, then the writer has an opinion and the professor objects that opinion. Right, that's the one we just saw. So what are the other types? There are two more that are similar to. The second one is you have problems and solutions, okay? So problems and solutions. So in that case, the writer or the reading, let's say, that's more understandable. The reading proposes 3 problems and the professor provides 3 solutions. Okay, so for example, I mean, they're not necessarily problems and solutions. I'm gonna give you an example. One that I read recently was like, in the reading, what you had was, it was about solar energy, right? The reading was about solar energy. And the reading was saying that although solar energy sounds really good in theory, it is not such a great idea at the end of the day. That is what the reading or the article was saying. So solar energy presents many problems. Okay, that's what the reading was saying. And the reading mentioned 3 problems that solar energy brings. So maybe the first one was producing energy in a large scale. Okay, let's just say that was the first. The first one was producing energy on a large scale, let's say. So to this argument, to this problem, the professor provided a solution. The professor was, again, objecting the reading. It was the same as the one we saw. The professor was like, oh, well, the problems that you're mentioning are real, but there are actually factible solutions for them. So the professor gave 3 solutions to those 3 problems. So for example, if the reading said, producing energy on a large scale is impossible with solar energy, then the professor gave a solution. So you could do this and this and that to solve this problem. Okay, maybe if the second one was costs, so maybe it isn't a cost-effective alternative, the professor gave a solution for reducing costs. Okay, and maybe the third one was, I don't know, maybe that the energy is like not stable, right? Maybe solar energy is not stable, is what the third problem was. So the professor gave a solution for those. Okay, so that's another type of reading that you can have. And if you think about it, you can use the same template. It won't be a problem. So do you get that idea? Is that okay? Yes. And finally, the third one are basically 3 theories and 3 reasons why those theories are not valid. So in that case, let's say we're gonna do one of these. So the reading basically provides 3 theories explaining something. So maybe we're talking about the extinction of dinosaurs, okay? So the reading is gonna provide 3 theories why the extinction of dinosaurs happened. So why were dinosaurs extinct? And the reading will provide you with 3 theories. And then the professor in the lecture will object each one of those theories and be like, well, those are not actually plausible theories because of these 3 reasons. So it's again the same, right? If you think about it at the end of the day, even though those are not exactly arguments, those are not opinions, the professor is always somehow objecting the reading. So it's always going to be the same, and you can always use the same text, no matter what. Is that okay? Those are the three types. Do you guys have any questions about that so far?
So in the reading, we will detect what kind of exercise is it, basically.
Yeah, you will be able to know if the writer has an opinion, like in this case, then it's an argumentative one. So the professor is going to object that opinion. If the writer is presenting problems about something, then you know that the professor will present the solutions to those problems. And if the writer is presenting theories, then you know that the professor will object to those theories and prove them wrong. So you need to realize when you're when you're reading, you will know which one it is. Okay? We're gonna do this one here. Okay, so remember that you have 3 minutes to read, right? So this is gonna be the one we're doing. I'm gonna share with you the link so that you can read on your own at your own pace. Okay. Please open up the document. And I want you guys to please read the article. Okay, it's about the little ice age.
It is requesting access.
Or is it? Sorry. Okay, so can you access now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can read it from my screen too. This is the reading. You will have 3 minutes to read this. Okay, guys, so let's talk about it. So this was about the Little Ice Age, right? That's clear, I think. Now, what type of text was this one? Because it wasn't an argumentative one, right? The professor or the writer here doesn't have an opinion. So what is the type of the organizational type?
The third one of theories.
Exactly. So these are possible theories to explain a phenomenon, right? These are possible theories that could explain the origin of Little Ice Age, why it happened. So we have three theories, right? You will always have three. We have one in each. In the introduction, basically we know what the topic is, the Little Ice Age, and we know what the structure will be, right? Because they say scientists have long wondered what caused the Little Ice Age. So this is about what caused the Little Ice Age, sorry. And then they explain several possible causes have been proposed. These are possible theories to explain what caused the Little Ice Age. What is the first theory? As summarized as it can be.
The first theory is about the cooling caused by disrupting of ocean currents.
Exactly. So the first theory says that the cooling, because the Little Ice Age was a period where the temperatures were too low, right? So this cooling may have been caused by the disrupting of ocean currents, it says. That's the first theory. What about the second?
The dust provoked by volcanic eruptions.
Exactly. So volcanic eruptions could be another theory explaining why the Little Ice Age is origin. What about the third?
Human decreasing.
Exactly. So decreases in human populations, right? That could have been another cause. So that's it. As you can see, we have a phenomenon, and then we have three possible theories explaining what that happened. So what is the professor gonna do then?
Can you repeat, please, the question?
So now that we know what the structure is for the reading, what is the professor going to do in their lecture?
He will tell that these theories are not valid.
Exactly. So yes, professor will explain why these theories are not valid. So let's take a look. Let's listen to the lecture. You already know what to expect, so it'll be easier for you to catch the main points. Please take notes.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
While the theories given in the reading may sound plausible, none of them is a good explanation for the mass extinction at the end of the Triassic period. First, sea level change. While scientists agree that the sea level fluctuated at the end of the Triassic period, often going down, this isn't a good explanation for the extinctions. Coastal and shallow water ecosystems are usually capable of adapting to environmental changes that happen gradually. The fall in sea level at the end of the Triassic was quite gradual, taking place over several million years. The change would have to be much more sudden to have a widespread negative impact on the species in those ecosystems. Second, global cooling. It's true that sulfur dioxide can lower global temperatures, but that can only happen during a relatively short period, when the sulfur dioxide that's been released by volcanoes is actually still present in the atmosphere. In a matter of a few years, the excess SO2 is usually cleared out of the atmosphere. Basically, the SO2 combines with water in the atmosphere and falls back on Earth as rain. It doesn't seem likely, therefore, that even if there was a lot of volcanic SO2 released at the end of the Triassic, it stayed in the atmosphere long enough to cause mass extinctions. Third, very few scientists believe the asteroid theory because we haven't found any asteroid crater, the site where the asteroid hit, that can be dated to the time when the mass extinction occurred. We did find a crater, but it dates to about 12 million years before the extinction. That's just too long before the extinction to have anything to do with it.
Summarize the points made in the lecture, being sure to explain how they challenge the specific theories presented in the reading passage.
Right? So that was it. And even the question was the same, right? So it was summarize the specific points made in the lecture, being sure to explain how they challenge, how they contrast, how they question the theories presented in the reading. That's what we're gonna do. Okay? And we're gonna use the same template we did yesterday. Okay. So can we summarize it a little bit? How does the professor challenge this theory of the disrupting of ocean currents?
The waters of this part of the oceans normally adapt gradually.
Okay, yes. Yep. Anything else? Yeah, that's good. So the professor says that ecosystems are capable of adapting to gradual changes, right? Changes that happen throughout a certain period of time. And this was, I mean, the disrupting of ocean currents wasn't something that happened suddenly. It was something that was gradual. So if this couldn't be the cause, right? Because ecosystems would have adapted to this change and you wouldn't have had the little ice age. Now, what about the second theory about the volcanic eruptions?
The dust they lift up have a short period and they finally join the water and they combine to during the rain.
Exactly.
So everything was cleared out.
That's great. So even if there were a lot of volcanic eruptions happening during that time, the CO2 or the sulfur gas that's emitted into the atmosphere, it clears out very quickly, right? And it comes back as rain. So this couldn't really be a good cause for explaining the cooling. And what about the final one?
About the asteroid that it was never found.
Exactly.
And that happened long ago before this period.
Okay, great. So this massive extinction happened millions of years before this period. So it's not really related. Great. So those are the three theories, and that's how the professor challenges each of the three theories, right? Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay. So basically, as you can imagine, we're going to use a template in the same way. We're still going to have our introduction and our three body paragraphs. We're still going to contrast the ideas from the reading to the ones in the lecture. It's always contrast. So you will always have to use these contrasting words. And the structure is the same. Maybe we're going to change a few words, you'll see. So for example, in the introduction, we'll have first the topic, right? That was the first sentence. We'll say, both the article and lecture discuss. What is the topic?
Little ice age.
Exactly. The little ice age. Is it enough if we leave it there? And what do we have to do?
And what cause it?
Exactly, discuss the little ice age. Maybe we could give some context as to what this is, right? It says it was a period of unusually cold temperature in many parts of the world. It lasted from about the year 1350 until 1900, right? So how can you guys paraphrase this? Or maybe these two, right? There were unusually harsh winters and glaciers grew larger in many areas. So to give some context as to what the little ice age is, how can you guys paraphrase this first part?
I don't remember that term that professor uses in the lecture. I don't, it says period, but I don't know. I didn't write down exactly the period.
Anyway,
Not that a period, it says that I don't know how exactly is the word.
I don't remember.
Paleontological, something like that. At the beginning of the lecture.
Okay, maybe we can listen to that part again. Do you want?
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
While the theories given in the reading may sound plausible, none of them is a good explanation for the mass extinction at the end of the Triassic period. First, see
There?
Yes, Triassic period.
Triassic period. Okay. So, what are we gonna say now?
Known as the end of the Triassic period.
Okay, it happened at the end, right? But it wasn't known as that. So maybe we could say the little ice age, which occurred at the end of the Triassic period. But what was it, right? Maybe a little bit, something explaining what it was.
That's right. I don't know if we can put the years that is in the
Little ice age. So how would you do it?
put it in parentheses.
Okay. Like that?
Mhm.
Okay, good. So yes, maybe I was saying something explaining the fact that it was a period where you had this oddly, extremely, well, not extremely, right? But yeah, unusually cold temperature. But it's okay. So the article and lecture both discuss the little ice age, which occurred at the end of the Triassic period. That is the first sentence where we explain the topic and give some context. Then we need to express the main idea from the reading. So this is the only thing that's actually gonna change in your introduction. We're gonna say, the reading extract claims, so what does the reading say? What can we say?
3 theories for explaining the little ice age.
Okay, good. But that's already here, right? And describes three possible theories explaining this phenomenon. Here, I would try to say something. The reading extract claims that scientists till today still don't know, still don't have the answer as to what caused this phenomenon, right? And then we can say, and describes three possible theories explaining it. Something like that. Maybe we could say the reading extract claims that scientists to debate, yes, to debate still do not have maybe we could say an answer proven or demonstrated answer as to what caused this. Yeah, that's what caused this phenomena, we could say, and we could change the template, right? And describes three possible theories explaining it. We're explaining its origin. Maybe something like this, right? The reading extract claims that scientists to the date still do not have a demonstrated answer as to what caused this phenomena and describes three possible theories explaining its origin. Right? So the only thing that's actually going to change is instead of saying and provides three reasons, or three arguments, you're going to say and provides three theories. That's the only thing that will actually change from your template. Is that okay? Okay. And then we'll say, however, the professor argues that. So what can we say there?
These mentioned theories are not accurate.
Exactly. So these theories are not accurate, are not plausible, rejecting each one of them. Right, so we will repeat theories again. So however, the professor argues that the theories mentioned in the article are not accurate or not plausible, objecting each one. So that's the only thing that you're gonna change, right? Instead of saying reasons, you'll say theories, but everything else will be kept the same way. Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions about that introduction? Good. So next we move on to the body paragraphs, and we need to remember the structure, right? We have one sentence for the reading, summarizing the main points, and two or more sentences for the list. We'll start with the first one that says, the article starts by stating that. So we have to summarize this first theory, right? Which is in the first sentence. So how can you guys paraphrase this? The cooling may have been caused by disrupting of ocean currents. How can you guys explain that theory in a different way?
Fresh water interrupt the stream gulf, change the currents, the global currents in the earth.
Okay. Good. Fresh water interrupted the stream gulf and changed the global currents in the earth. Anything else? Maybe we could say causing the lowering of temperatures, right? That way we can connect. Great, though. I really like the idea. And the only thing I'm going to ask you to be careful with is the tense, right? Remember that this happened in the past. It's a period that happened in the past. So freshwater interrupted. Okay, although this is good, there's one thing that we need to consider. Here we're saying causing the lowering of temperatures, but that's not true yet, right? We cannot affirm that because it's a possible theory. right? They say the cooling may have been caused. That means that there's a chance that it was caused by this, and there's a chance that it wasn't. So how can we continue using that structure and continue showing that probability, right? Instead of affirming that it was the cause. What can we do to change that? Any ideas? Because right now we are affirming that this is the cause, but we don't know. And even the reading says that it could have been a cause. Then it doesn't say that it was the cause. So
Instead of causing, we could use one of the probable causes of low temperatures.
okay. So stating that freshwater interacted the stream will change the cold currents in the air. Maybe we could say, as you're saying, which is one of the possible causes, right? Or which could have been, or which could have caused the lowering of temperatures, right? So instead of saying causing, I'm saying which could have caused, which means there's a chance that it did, there's a chance that it didn't, right? Now, that's something that you have to be really careful with. I don't know if you guys remember, and this is the tip. I don't know if you guys remember the one we did yesterday, but everything was supposed to be in the future tense, right? Because it was something that was going to be implemented in the future. So self-driving cars will be faster. They will give us time. If they were implemented, they would drive more efficiently. They would help the areas. So everything was in those conditional future tenses. Now, you need to be careful with those tenses. In this case, everything's in the past, but not only is it in the past, because these are not affirmations, but instead these are, how do you say, speculations, right? These are things that could have happened. We don't know for sure. So you need to be careful with your tenses not to change the ideas, because everything can change if you change the grammar too, right? Like in this case, if we said this caused the lower earning of temperatures, different if we say this could have caused, right? So careful with the tenses. Is that okay? So are you guys familiar with this structure? Could have, may have, might have. You guys familiar with that? That structure? Okay, good. So careful with the tenses. That's it. That's our first sentence from the reading. Any questions so far? Nice. So now we have to continue with what the professor said in the listening. We're going to contrast it. We're going to say, nevertheless, in the presentation, it's noted that. So this is your time. What did the professor say about this again?
That water levels used to adapt.
Okay.
In a gradual way.
Okay. To adapt to changes, right?
To changes.
So environment changes that happened in a gradual. Without better term. Yeah, maybe that would happen. In a gradual. Okay, what else?
And that this happened 7 million years before this period, the end of this period.
Are you sure that's what it said here?
I think she says 7 million of years before the end of this period or something like that.
Aren't you getting confused with the other ones?
No, because he mentioned two periods of 7 million in the first point and in the third one of the asteroid of 12 million, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, because if we said that this happened in 7 million years, isn't that too much?
Or we can say like generalized, like long time ago.
Okay, so you're saying that the interruption of the Gulf streams happened before the period of the Little Ice Age?
Yeah,
Okay, are you sure that was the idea though? Because I remember that this was the first idea was that the interruption of Gulf streams did happen, it is true, and it may have happened during that time, but it was a gradual change, right? It was something that happened little by little. So ecosystems wouldn't have adapted, and it wouldn't have been resulted in the cooling of temperatures. That's what I got. I don't know. Not sure, because the one that I remember that happened before this period was the last one, right? Where the massive extinctions happened before. Not so sure.
well, about the period or time, well, I'm not sure, but I wrote down 7 million years before this.
Let's hear to that part again. Let's hear that.
Now listen to part of a lecture.
Level change. While scientists agree that the sea level fluctuated at the end of the Triassic period, often going down, this isn't a good explanation for the extinctions. Coastal and shallow water ecosystems are usually capable of adapting to environmental changes that happen gradually. The fall in sea level at the end of the Triassic was quite gradual, taking place over several million years. The change would have to be much more sudden to have a widespread negative impact on the species in those ecosystems.
Okay, I see what you mean. So what
Okay,
do you
this,
think now?
I think she says this change last like 7 million years, not before.
Yes, they say that exactly. It didn't happen before. It lasted, but they don't say 7 million, right? They say several million years. So yeah,
Several. I listen 7.
okay, don't worry. So yes, you're right though. So it didn't happen before, but it happened during, or it lasted several million years. So that means that it was something very gradual, right? It wasn't all of a sudden that this happened. Okay, so what can we say? This happened.
For several million years, and not
Okay, maybe this.
suddenly.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if it's correct, but for me, well, and this lasted several million years, and not as they assured. Talking about the scientists.
Talking about the, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure because they don't say anything about how many years
And not
say that this could have been a cause. Sorry. And not
suddenly.
exactly, yes, not suddenly, right? maybe we can say something like, thus coastal ecosystems would have adapted, right? Would have adapted to the environmental change. Without provoking, no, without worrying. Cannot really be a good reason for explaining this one now. Do you guys get the idea of this structure? The same, right? The other body paragraphs will be exactly the same. We're going to say, furthermore, the author also points out that volcanic eruptions is another possible theory explaining this, explaining the Little Ice Age, since the sulfur gas that they emit often results in then we're going to say, on the other hand, explains that although it is true that volcanic eruption, I don't know, the CO2 or SO2, the SO2 that they emit clears out from the atmosphere and lasts long enough to be the cause for this cooling period, right? So, but at the end of the day, you're doing the same. You're contrasting what you have from the reading to what you have from the lecture. You summarize what you have from the reading in one sentence, and you have to explain more what you have in the lecture, giving more details. Then you do the same for the third, right? So is that okay? Do you guys have any questions about this type of text that we read and the lecture?
Yeah, I have a question about the topics.
That I'm gonna give you that I wanted to give you. Try to use this to even people have. Sorry.
I listen kind of got it. What you said with echo.
I'm sorry. Hello. You were saying me there?
Sorry, I couldn't listen you well. I listen kind of got it with echo.
Okay.
About the topics, I was asking if there are like only scientist issues or there are different kind of topics.
Okay, good question. So actually there are plenty of different topics. I couldn't tell you like that there's one specific type or one specific topic that is more frequent than the other. What I've seen a lot of history topics. So things like this, but related to history, right? Things that maybe explained something that happened with a culture or something that happened with Egyptians. So I've seen a lot of history. I've seen a lot of science like this, or extinctions of animals. And solar energy, technology is another big topic, like the one we saw about driverless cars. So that's what I've seen, technology, science, and history. But there are others, like for example, there was one about literary reading, which is more like a social topic. So there are different ones. As for the topics, you can see pretty much a bit of everything. Economics too, so yeah. Any other
Thanks.
question?
No, can you repeat what you were saying before you got disconnected?
Yeah, sure. I was telling
Please.
you one tip I can give you guys for grammar. Make sure not only that you contrast, but you also compare. So what do I mean by that? I don't know if you guys noticed, but in some parts in the lecture, the professor agreed with what the reading was saying too, right? The professor was like, for example, well, although it is true that sulfur gas can lower the temperatures, then I don't know, this gas wasn't in the atmosphere for long enough to be the cause. So that part, like, although it is true that this can have an effect on the lowering of temperatures, you can also try to add those parts. They are good because they show deeper understanding of the relationship between the listening and the lecture, and also because of grammar, you know. So if you're able to use these complex sentences with like, although this is true, even though, I don't know, regardless of the fact that, so try to use those. Try to not only contrast the information and show the differences, but if there's something that the professor agrees with the reading, then try to also take it into account when you're writing your essay. That is what I was saying. Is that okay then? No questions? Hey guys, so you will have an assignment. I'm going to send you guys an assignment through our group chat. And basically it'll be one of these that we're doing, but you will have to do it. So you'll have to set the timer and write the essay. I'm going to provide you with the material, and you'll have to send it to me, to my email, so that I can check, review, and give you guys some feedback. Don't worry right now about the technical part. I will send the instructions through our WhatsApp group. And if you have any questions, you can let me know through there. But then I just want you to suggest that you do write the essays. It'll have a deadline, so it won't be like deadline free, but it is really useful, you know, to see how you are and to see maybe what are the grammar rules that you have to work on, or the specific things that you're struggling with, or maybe the things that you're really good at, to also continue doing them. So try to write the essays. I'm gonna send you that probably later tonight. So it'd be like when I finish all my courses, so around 10 p.m. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, guys. Do you have any questions before we go? Final thoughts, questions? Great. Then I'll see you guys next class.